actions.
No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison. It is a beautiful April 30th here in Florida. I'm hanging out with you all today. I'm a little bit late today. Sorry, guys. I was just running a little bit behind, so I knocked it back 15 minutes, as I am apt to do at times. So don't always be waiting with bated breath at 10 a.m. Sometimes it'll be a little bit behind. But glad to be here with you guys. We have a lot to go through today. So I'm kind of looking forward. There's some stuff I don't really want to go through today, so I think I will at some point. If you guys were here yesterday, you'll probably be aware, but we might get into that. I don't know. Maybe I'll procrastinate and just not even do it and save it for tomorrow, but we'll see. But I see a bunch of y'all in the chat. I see Star Crimes, JMS, Eddie Grimm, Tucker Delay. I don't recognize that name. Desk, hey, say what now? Saying that intro slaps. Thank you. Kyle up in this bitch. Bug Fight saying oy vey. Good morning, everybody. We got me and Eugene up in this motherfucker. I think I said JMS already. So some nice news radio star. Oh, are you saying I nailed the intro? Am I getting really good at the intro? Am I putting in the time and I'm getting really good at just fucking the normal little news intro? Cool. All right, I'll take it. All right, with that, guys, let's take a moment. Let's wait for more people to roll in and take a second to pay the bills. And I remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at NWJ. If you're tired of that razor brand irritation and ingrown hairs that come from those multi-blade cartridges, this is the way to go. The single blade safety razor, people have been sleeping on it for a long time. This is what your grandpa used to use, but for some reason it went out of style, and I don't know why, because the new stuff is worse than the old stuff. So go back, return to tradition. This is better. This is one blade. It gives you a much smoother shave. I mean, just think of the physics of it. You have one pressing down as opposed to a even uniform surface not able to press down as well. Think about the structure of these. Also, think about the fact you're dragging one blade across your face as opposed to multiple, which is much better for your skin. So you're only creating one abrasion across your face as opposed to an assortment of them. Which leads to a lot of shaving issues, ingrown hairs, bumps, all the like. And also on top of this is a much cheaper way to go. I mean, these multi-blade nonsense is like an expensive scam. Whereas really all you need is a razor blade and a little handle to put it in. And that's all you got here. It's very simple. It's $75 for the first year. After that, you're just paying for blades. And then you also get an additional 10% off if you use Jose at checkout. Let them know I sent you. And as if that wasn't enough, on top of all of that, this is a company that is a COVID mandate refusing company. This is a company that literally left the military, the owner, due to COVID restrictions, and took up NWJ Shave Co. to make ends meet. This company likely, generally speaking, I feel like I'm pretty in touch with my audience, likely comports to your values. So, really, it's a company that doesn't hate you. If you guys remember those stupid Gillette commercials a while, what was it, years ago with all the, leaning into all the feminism nonsense? Well, hey, he's not about it. He's all about the dudes. He knows what he's about. He knows his audience. It's us dudes. But yeah, whether you're shaving your whole face or edging up, it's the way to go. I highly recommend it. I use it for edging my beard. I know I don't shave as really like my whole face anymore, but for edging. But with that, guys, let's see. Let's check into on you guys. Return tradition, but only your razors. Maybe, I don't know. I guess depends on what the tradition is. There's lots of good traditions to go back to. But good morning, Screwed Up Rebellion. By the way, Screwed Up Rebellion, I'm sorry. I just realized, like, as I started this, I don't know why, you have a tendency to DM me things for the show. And so you DM me some stuff, and I totally always forget because I'm not checking. I go through my bookmark folder and look at all these stuff. So I'm sorry I didn't have it brought up. I'll try to remember to bring it up tomorrow. So I likely won't be covering any of your stuff. I have more than enough tabs up to go through. I'm not even sure if we'll get through them all today. But yeah, someone says Nadeau needs to give Jose a concise ad to read. Well, I'm just kind of riffing. It actually does have a script read, but I don't read the script. I've kind of adapted over time. I'm riffing. I'm working. I'm trying new things. I don't know. I'm just trying out my ad reading skills. I don't know. I thought I've done better. That one wasn't that great. But anyways, that's enough rambling. That's enough nonsense. Hey, what's up, John Black? I missed you, Black Guy. Good morning, everybody. How many Jose's would it take? It could take a gorilla. Oh yeah, by the way, I guess for those who aren't terminally online, I almost brought this up the other day just because it's like such a hilarious, at least to me, I don't know, a viral thing. There was just like a Twitter thing that went viral recently about like some dude, it was just weird. It wasn't even like a big account. This happens every now and then. You'll have some tweet that just goes viral for some fucking reason. And he had some tweet that was like, what did he say? He said, it was like a black dude tweet. So he's like, oh, some nigga dug about it, like just, he was using a Bonix type deal. And he said something like, I really feel like if enough of us niggas got together, I think like 100 of us could take on one silverback gorilla, but we got to really be about it type deal. Something like that. And, surprisingly, like the immediate reaction I noticed online is everybody like, you're so fucking, like at least that's what I saw off the jump was all the people being like, oh, fucking, all of you, you're like, everyone jumping on and being like, that's silly. The 100 guys couldn't beat one gorilla. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just astounded by that people think that. I've seen like a whole bunch of people bring out analysis of how insanely powerful gorillas are. And it's like, yeah, but we're also talking about 100 dudes. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah, so it's 100 dudes versus one gorilla is a hypothetical being thrown here. And honestly, I'm of the opinion this is kind of a retarded hypothetical, and I honestly feel like you wouldn't even need even really close to 100 dudes. Like, I get it. They are, like, savage monsters. Like, even those 100 dudes will probably, sustain some casualties. But, like, they'll win. There's 100 of them. Like, pick a limb, hold it down, fucking do whatever you gotta do. Like, the idea that you couldn't take it, like, yeah, sure, if you have a bunch of 100 bitch-made men that are scared and can't do anything, yeah. It's also just a stupid fucking battle, though, in the sense it's like you don't really win anything, you just survive. But anyways, point being, for some fucking weird hypothetical, if 100 dudes just had it in their mind, I really want to kill a gorilla with my bare hands, they could do it, and it's retarded to think otherwise. I really feel like it's kind of a great litmus test for if you're kind of a bitch, honestly. Like, if you're a dude, you see that, and you go, nope, they couldn't do it, and then you're kind of a bitch. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not out here fighting gorillas, nor would I want to. But if for some reason I'm in some weird, weird hypothetical, some cosmic entity comes down, puts says, like, everyone you love will die if you don't try this, yeah, me and 199 other dudes are about to fuck up a gorilla. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, that gorilla's going to get fucked up. I mean, some of us are probably going to get ripped from limb, and he's probably going to beat the rest of us with his the limbs that he ripped off of our comrades, but he will ultimately die. And it's kind of, I can't even wrap my head around the people saying that otherwise. The only argument I can understand is if, like, just fear takes over. That's the only argument. They're like, okay, sure, like, theoretically, I guess so, and it kind of matters to men, but I just feel like between 100 men, it's like a very specific hypothetical. You would have to, I know there'd have to be like some sort of reason for this hypothetical to make sense. But anyways, beside that, let's move on. I guess Screwed Up Belly says he doesn't tag libertarians, so sorry, you only DMs us. Okay, whatever, fair. If you don't, what are you embarrassed of me? Is that what it is? You don't want to tag me? You're like, why are you tagging Jose? What are you, a fucking bitch? What are you, like, libertarians? You homo? Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna tell everyone you like me, okay? And they're all gonna think you're a homo now. All right, guys, let's get into some actual content. Stop goofing. Let's get into it. What's up, Fire Pixie? See you in there. See Tom33 in there as well. Let's get into some stuff for the today. Some news. So here we go. Here's Putin maintains demand for full control of Russian oblasts claimed by Russia, or of Ukrainian oblasts claimed by Russia for peace deal. Essentially, the long and short of this story is, I know you guys just yesterday there was that story about a peace deal, a possible Although I don't know if this is the ceasefire, actually. No, let's read this real quick. It's only a few paragraphs. I was thinking maybe this was tied into the ceasefire we mentioned yesterday, but let's be clear on that. So let's read this real quick. This is by Dave DeCamp. So Russian President Vladimir Putin continues to demand full control of 4 Ukrainian oblasts claimed by Russia as a condition for a potential peace deal, Bloomberg reported on Tuesday. I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't even know what the hell an oblast is. I've definitely heard of it before, but I'm not even sure. I feel like it's one of those things that you hear every now and then in these type of circles that you just kind of go, nod and go, yeah, and you really don't have any idea what the hell they're talking about. Let's see what that is. Oblast. It's an administrative division or region in Russia in the former Soviet Union. And some it's okay, so it's just an area. I didn't know if it was like it sounded like that's what they're describing. I guess that's literally the equivalent of like states or something. So to put it simply, I guess would be the way to do it. All right, let me get back to. Sorry, I went off the tab. All right, here we go. The report said that Trump's envoy, President Steve Witkoff, sought to convince Putin to drop the demand and agree to a ceasefire that froze the current battle lines. And the Russian leader declined and maintained his demand for complete control of Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. That is a word and a half. The Financial Times reported last week that Putin was willing to freeze the current battle lines for a peace deal, but the Kremlin quickly signaled that this wasn't the case. Ukraine has also appeared to reject the conditions of a U.S. proposal for a potential peace deal. The Bloomberg report said that negotiations are now at an impasse as an agreement seems less and less likely. When Russia and Ukrainian officials held peace talks in the early days of Russia's invasion in 2022, Russia's main demand was for Ukrainian neutrality. Those efforts were discouraged by the U.S., and later that year, Russia declared its annexation of the 4 Ukrainian oblasts and added the recognition of that territory as Russia to its demands to end the war. So you see, this is a common point I bring up, the Primrose Path, which I believe was Mearsheimer, I believe that said it. The Primrose Path, with Ukraine, the idea that we're essentially fleecing them along the primrose, kind of like the thorns, like the visual idea you're supposed to get here is like someone walking through like almost like a corridor of like roses on each side, kind of like it's beautiful, it's like obviously it's evoking. So you're like, oh, you're kind of lulled into it. You keep going deeper and deeper, and it gets slimmer and slimmer. And it's just thorns. So just that. I think that's the kind of like what people say what they're meaning when they say this like Primrose Path. But the idea is like, yeah, even right here, they're saying in 2022 they met for peace talks after already being in hostilities, and all they wanted at that point in time was just Ukraine to be neutral. But this is how this game works. This is how negotiations work. This is how leverage works. If you get to a point where you're like, I don't need to do that anymore. Like, in 2022, there were different cards on the table. Essentially, there were. People were holding different hands, and Ukraine is holding a much weaker hand at this point in time. So it's just the longer that they go on, the worse of a deal they're going to get. And I frequently bring up the example of like post World War I, the Versailles Treaty, and just kind of like how they just kind of ran them through the ringer. And I think we might see the same. We've already the mineral peace deal, which like okay, I get it. It's supposedly supposed to be. I don't know. Remember the specifics. Something that was supposed to be like a sharing endeavor, like they get some of it, we get some of it. But the thing is, when we say we, what do we mean by we or even they? Who is that? That's probably oligarchs on both sides of the table that probably are essentially pulling money off of this. So this is it's fleecing the people. I don't know. I highly doubt that money is somehow directly going back to the people. Not that it really should in some commie way, but it's also like I also doubt those are strictly private businesses exclusively that are going to be taking into account. Like it's not like the United States government has just that much care about private businesses in the U.S. being able to work over in Ukraine that they're trying to hook them up with deals like this. No, this is they're getting their dirty dick beaters in there too. So this is a government thing. And the government produces nothing of its own. You need to remember that. They produce absolutely nothing. All they do is take money from everybody else. So them getting their dirty dick beaters in here, what are they there to do? They are there to siphon off money. That's what they're there to do. So, I obviously don't know I could look into the exact function or structure of this supposed mineral deal in the future. But point being, I'm just using it as an example. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see others along the way. Or even just as simple as just what their deal is by the end. Because Russia is, from my understanding, is basically fucking killing it. And they've taken over a bunch of areas back over, and Ukraine seems to be sticking if we want it back, and they're not really in any position to ask for it. So it seems like at least the powers that be in that country want to just continue with the status quo, which was the deal when Trump came in and still seems to be the deal now. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and finish this so maybe there's something else interesting in here. There's 2 more paragraphs. Since Russia has a momentum on the battlefield, it's unlikely that it would accept a peace deal with terms dictated by the U.S. If the negotiations fall apart, it remains unclear if the Trump administration would continue fueling the war by arming Ukraine. As time goes on, the terms of settlement will likely get less favorable for Ukraine. Yeah, so basically what I just said. On Monday, Russia declared a 3-day ceasefire starting on May 8th, but Ukraine rejected the idea and proposed a 30-day truce. Okay, so even that's... So my original... Because for some reason I was under the impression before I really dug into the story that it was related to the proposed ceasefire. But no, I guess they're separate things. But either way, it looks like the ceasefire is probably not happening as well. Because it says here, Russia has dismissed the Ukrainian counteroffer and is casting doubt on whether the 3-day ceasefire will hold. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But once again, I'm not... it looks like this is just kind of... what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're just playing perception games to make people think, oh, we're doing stuff, we're negotiating, we're doing things. Okay, sure. I mean, the thing is, it's hard to take that seriously when you've already done things before and shown you're able to do things. And now we just got to talk. When it's like you could be talking and doing the other things you did before. By that I mean the ceasing of the intelligence sharing and financial aid, which we did at one point, and that really completely caused, essentially, what's his face, Zelensky to do like an about face and kind of be like, oh, what do you guys need? What do you need? Okay, I'm willing to work with you. He became much more amenable in all the different negotiations that were going on at that time. And then once he kind of came back to the table, got a little bit more friendly. Maybe it was a respect thing. I don't know. Maybe it was just like you need to show a little respect. And then once you do that, you'll get your money back. But, yeah, he got his money back and he's had it since. So, I mean, I really do feel like if we cut all that off, it's one of 2 things. And honestly, I lean towards the first one. The first one being it would essentially force them to stop. They're not really in a position to do it. Or 2, it's like no longer our problem. Like it's not our problem, and honestly I do think it would just stop on its own. So the idea we have to have anything to do with this is ridiculous. All we do is make this problem worse, as I think you can kind of tell by the example of like how we cut off the aid before and like what a difference that made. So I don't know. I think if we ever do get serious again, will be when we cut off aid, because otherwise until that happens, I don't see anything changing. So all right, let's check in the chat, see what you guys have to say. Someone says I don't identify as libertarian anymore, but it's foundational for what I believe now. Yeah, I get people not liking to identify as. I typically don't. I just, how do I put it? I use the term just because it's I get the complaints. People say it's like gay or like. I try not to be like, oh, I'm a libertarian to everybody. It's not like things I throw around regularly. It's just shorthand for, especially for people who already understand what it is, to kind of get a quick grasp of my belief system, if that makes sense. So just scrolling through the chat. It says, I do love my turds. I love you too, Screwed Up Rebellion. All right, let's, okay, cool. All right, let's get into, but yeah, anyways, I get the point. People complaining about the terms, and I know there's all sorts of different variations within libertarian, and I understand people not even liking the libertarian term, because let's be real, most of them are a bunch of faggots. So, but that's why you get more specific. Like then when you get into libertarian, you say libertarian and someone knows what you mean, and you're like, oh, you mean like this? And you're like, oh. No, okay, ANCAP. And they're like, oh, you mean, and if they know what you mean, they go, oh, you mean like this? And you go, no, like this. And you're like, oh, well, like this. No, like, and it's like you can get further and further down. You're like, oh, do you believe in objective morality? Or do you believe in voting? And you can get further down to the labels, even more and more specific. It's just easy shorthand than having to go, literally say exactly what I believe. So, anyways. Lance Ripa says he can't watch the show anymore because Mark Carney said otherwise. Yeah, that's what the new Canadian PM, I think, right? Isn't he like an insane glowy? I believe he works for like the Bank of England or something crazy. But all right, yeah, exactly. Says Tommy says it's an easy to explain term for slightly more than surface level political conversation, but I never have those in real life. Exactly. I almost never say in real life to anyone I'm a libertarian. Like, why? What's the point? Unless I've had like a political discussion with them and I can tell they are hip to understanding thing, I might throw it out. Even then, I'm kind of hesitant too, because unless they're like super into it and particularly into libertarian politics, they're generally probably gonna be like, oh, okay, this guy's a homo, I guess, huh? And you're like, no, I mean, I get why you'd think that way, considering the way libertarians act, but yeah, I'm not one of those ones. So yeah, it's only in very niche circumstances. If anything, I actually prefer anarchist, which I know like it might scare normies, but I don't know. I don't care. It's like whatever. I don't give a shit. But all right, let's get into the next story. This is on Iran. I just thought it was worthwhile mentioning that, hey, we're putting more sanctions on them because that totally makes sense, despite negotiations. This is another one by Dave DeCamp. It's another short one, so I'll just go ahead and read the whole one again. So on Tuesday, the Trump administration imposed new sanctions on companies and individuals based in Iran and China over their alleged role in procuring missile propellant ingredients for Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. On companies and individuals based in Iran over their alleged role in procuring. Okay, so you put sanctions on these companies. Okay. All right. I mean, I guess kind of fair, but on the flip side, then like I don't feel like we can get upset if people put if they put tariffs on weapon companies. I guess to some extent I'm fine with that, sort of. I don't know. Maybe I'd have to think on this more, I guess. But from like an overall perspective, I guess like if countries want to start exclusively tariffing military industrial complex companies or whatever, like okay, whatever. I don't know. I don't really know to what degree that's really going to leak over into the real economy, because let's be real, weapons economies are essentially by their nature, at least government weapons companies, kind of an artificial entity. Like let's be real, if it wasn't for war, an insane aberration in the market, coercion, they would not be necessary. So, not to say weapons wouldn't be necessary. There'd still be weapons. I'm all about weapons. Weapons are cool, but not to the degree, the insane amount of tanks, fighter jets, whatever. Or at the very least, if they did exist, it would be in a very, not exist, but if they did send them out, it'd be very different. It'd be very different. Because I don't know. I mean, you can read, I believe David Friedman has a good essay on, I believe it's in the Anarchist Handbook, on like how things would work. And he lays out possible, I think fairly feasible ideas in the absence of a government, how like a national defense could work. And so I think there are like possible theoreticals in which they would have weapons like that as well. But even then, I'd say you got to admit it got to be less, because I mean they're so carried away when it comes to military. There's nothing efficient about it because there's no actual market indicators that really affect here. It's all fucking it's all government contracts. That's not a genuine fucking market signal. Like how are we supposed to go? Oh, we should produce more. How you should produce more is when the government comes to you and says you should produce more. There's no real market activity going on here. So, I mean, maybe there's a handful of people here and there that somehow are legally able to buy tanks that do or something. But even then, those are usually going to be old ones that are probably like decommissioned or something. Anyways, Iran's aggressive development of missiles and other weapons capabilities imperils the safety of the U.S. and our partners. Now, I will add on this, though, it's like while I don't necessarily have a problem with countries, maybe don't have a problem, I have to think about it, countries tariffing each other's weapons companies. At the same time, given the timing of this, while they're in the midst of extremely important negotiations, it's kind of like, why? Like, why? I mean, I don't know. But it is, I guess this is, like I said, it's a little bit more understandable of the tariffs. I'm not a big tariff fan in general, but if you're going to, I guess, military-industrial complex, type companies, sure, whatever. The administration has maintained its so-called maximum pressure campaign against Tehran by adding new sanctions on Iran and threatening potential military action, despite the negotiations it has held with Iranian officials. Last week, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said the increasing U.S. sanctions amid the effort at diplomacy shows a lack of goodwill. Frankly, I think they're kind of correct. Once again, like I said, like while I don't necessarily have a problem with this, it does seem like a silly thing to do in the midst of negotiation, unless that's what you're trying to do, is trying to back them up against the wall in some part. But from my understanding of covering this fairly regularly on the show, I don't really feel like we're in a negotiating position if we want to avoid war with Iran, to where really we should be bigger assholes or bullies, because they've been complaining about this a bunch, and we're very hesitant to come to the table in the first place just because of this sort of behavior that they've rightfully pointed out as just kind of shitty behavior when you're in the midst of negotiations. Which, as I was saying, it could be like, as we mentioned with the Iran or the Russia-Ukraine thing earlier, it's like if you're in the position of Russia in this back and forth, kind of makes sense. But we're trying to avoid it in the first place, and we are the bigger thing. But like, no one comes out of this thing unscathed. If Russia, or us, not Russia, but if like us and Iran go at it along with Israel, it's not going to be good. So I mean, we may be the bigger power here, but it's Point being, it's a different calculation so far as I believe when it comes to negotiations or who has what leverage here than when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine type deal. So far, the U.S. and Iran have held 3 rounds of negotiations, but it remains unclear if a deal will be reached. Publicly, U.S. officials have repeatedly called for an agreement that would eliminate Tehran's nuclear enrichment program, which is a non-starter for Iran. He's Trump repeatedly threatened to bomb Iran. You guys know the rest of that. That's just kind of summing up the situation. We've been covering that fairly regularly here, so you guys get that. Good morning, Abrogate D's. Good morning, Ray. Saying the Earth is flat. Perhaps it is. I don't know. Scrolling. See what you guys have to say. Jameis says, I'm not anti-war. I'm anti-globalist wars. Okay. I mean, consider myself anti-war, but I theoretically could there could be a war that I could imagine, and being like, oh, that's good. And I know, was it Murray Rothbard, I think, wrote the piece that said there was only been 2 just wars in America's history, and it was the Revolutionary War and the Civil War not on the side you would think. Ironically, that statement I just said there, the second part of it at least, is what got this channel demonetized. Not specifically, but similar sentiment. Saying maybe it wasn't maybe the South wasn't as evil as portrayed in your history books. But yeah, I don't know if I'd agree that those were just wars, but they're probably the closest thing to them. Probably just wars. But anyways, point being, I can imagine wars. Like, yeah, obviously, like, if you're being invaded and you're protecting yourself, that's obviously, like, I don't know. I guess you can call it a war, but I don't know. I feel like when you imagine war, at least colloquially speaking, like, and when people say war, they mean pretty much what we've seen for the past couple hundred years. And I don't really, maybe we could think of some specific examples in that time around the world that were legitimate just wars, but I'd say damn near none of them were. So it's like, essentially, de facto, at least during this day and time, pretty much all the war. It's instead of like trying to be like, oh, I'm anti-globalist wars, it's just kind of overly specific for no real important reason. I guess it's like somebody out there can play that actually game, and then one day when we get invaded or some shit, and then somebody responds with violence in our home country, they go, oh, I thought you said you were anti-war. And you're like, no. And even then, that's not really a war, I guess, depending on the situation, because I feel like a war is like a back and forth, this battle, that battle, this. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now, but it's I don't know. I just feel like I get what you mean. There are just wars. Is it theoretically possible for there to be just wars? It's just so few and far between. It's just easier to just say anti-war. Like I guess sure. Maybe one day there will be a just war, and then all the fucking losers out there are gonna go, oh, saying you idiots saying anti-war. I'm like, okay, yeah, but like literally the way we've defined war for the past couple of years has been every single occasion has been not just. So, all right, let's say JMS says Civil War was a Russian, German, Britain proxy war is something I learned. All right, yeah, perhaps. War is the father of all things, says Screwed Up Rebellion. Perhaps. Yeah, it's the health of the state, that's for sure. All right, let's get into the next story. I got one more on the foreign policy front, and then we'll get into some other stuff. I got Republicans unveil bill to bring 2025 military budget to over $1 trillion. Legislation would add $150 billion to the budget, includes $25 billion for President Trump's Iron Dome for America. Not getting into the specifics of one, not really any reason to read that anymore, but you guys get the idea. Like, I remember recently when they were talking budget, they were already talking, like, I think it was almost $1 trillion, and I guess now with this bill, it brings it just over $1 trillion. So, yay, breaking records, woohoo! All right, well, let's get into the next thing. Let's pop in, see if there's anything new over here real quick. War is what incentivizes all innovations. Yeah, sure, but that's the same logic people use, like, oh, well, this is why we got to have NASA. We got to do that. Like, yeah, obviously, when the government takes all your money and then applies it to science, they will have innovations. But I would actually make the argument that had that not been taken and, diverted to individuals not operating under market conditions and not able to operate in the ideal, ways for innovation, I actually think if that money had stayed in the free market, it actually would have been better. And, maybe you would have different innovations, but it would have been better in the sense of more practical and, more things that people need. I know when people bring up NASA and they're like, oh, cool, look, we got fucking rockets and people going to space and this and that, and we're going to colonize the moon. And you're like, there is so much shit you could have been doing. Instead of stealing our money for that dumb shit, there is so much stuff that could have been done on this planet. Like that or just steal less of our money. That'd be nice. If you give me a choice of, do I want to give these homos money to set off rockets and pretend like they're going into space or something? No, I don't. Even if you're like, well, that's how we got microwaves. I don't fucking care. Like, I just don't. Like, cool. It's also like, it's a counterfactual. It's like, this is, war created this innovation. War did this. And you're like, okay, but like, we kind of can't run back the clock. But if you have a proper understanding of economics and how the market works and what's the most effective use of money, yeah, being in the free market, you're gonna get better shit out of it. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, you will get different innovations and probably stuff that maybe even people be more blown away by that come out of the government because they're working on weird newfangled things and trying to find crazy ways to kill people. So they're going to come up with more exotic, I guess, innovations. But so far as actual innovations that make a difference to our day-to-day life, no, I actually think it's that concept right there is like, I think, complete misnomer, and is if anything further, it's like typically they always go, oh, we need a war whenever things get bad to smooth over this economy or whatever. It's the same kind of mindset, and it's if anything, it's actually the idea of like, no, it's not that you need that for the economy. What you need is, oh shit, everything's going bad. We need something to rally the people together around. We need to rally around the flag effect, and hopefully maybe we can paper this over in the meantime. Really, war is actually probably one of the worst things you can do for your economy. And I don't really know. I mean, hell, look at today's economy and compare it to pre-9/11 and tell me otherwise. So, like, I don't know, it's pretty obvious. Sorry, Screamer Billy. I know it seems like me and you typically we do these things kind of, huh? All right, let's get to Kathy Sanders here, which partially this was mostly just to let you guys know, hey, Kathy Sanders is out there. I know someone asked me the other day if I've watched her interview with Scott Horton. I have not yet. I just haven't got a chance to do it. I have it saved in my watch later on YouTube. Just haven't yet. But Kathy Sanders is she's the grandma of 2 children who were lost in the Oklahoma City bombing. Really, really sad story. There's pretty much like damn near probably most of the Oklahoma City bombing books I've read. It's like usually there's a good little section on their story because it's like probably. It feels gross to say this, but it's like one of the best heartthrobs. Best is the wrong word here, but like so far as an emotional hook to drag people into Oklahoma City bombing and be like, oh my God, this is awful. There's not a lot better stories than Kathy Sanders and Eddie Smith, who was her daughter, the mother of the children. So she's been done a lot, about this. Her husband, God, who was her husband? God, I feel really embarrassed. I can't think of her husband's name right now because Wilburn. God, I can't think of his name right now. He was a really big deal. I know he helped out the key folks a lot. He played a huge part, and he died kind of young in all this, and. I mean, he played a huge part in kind of being a hero of this. So has Kathy, but she's kind of carried on the tradition of her husband as well. Not saying that it was like either one or the other. They were both doing it, but I'm just kind of pointing out her husband. She's carried on the legacy even after he's gone. But so she's wrote another book recently, but she chose to share with us. I've told you guys about this before, but I figured, hey, so you can never mention this little factoid enough because it is probably one of the best ones that kind of brings things together. But anyways, Kathy Sanders, which she decided to go by at Kathy SA528799609. I really wish she had contacted someone before she decided to make a Twitter account because it's like probably. But anyways, you probably could search Kathy Sanders and find her. Even then, that's kind of probably maybe a common name. I'm not sure how common that is, so maybe you might struggle to find her. So maybe you'll have to look up by the numbers, but I don't know. I don't know, whatever. So probably wasn't thinking about when she made the account. But either way, she's on here, so that's cool. Definitely go give her a follow. But she's put out a new book called Shadows of Conspiracy. I have not obviously seen it yet or read it yet. I have that and the Margaret Roberts book coming up sometime soon. So between those two, damn, you guys are making my every time I get closer and closer being done with or being close to what I consider done with my reading curriculum of Oklahoma City bombing. It's like, God, stop writing books. So it's like another book comes along. But I'm sure at some point I'll get around to reading hers. But either way, I wanted to point out, she says, the classified Secret Service report from May 1st, 1995, an agent saw the Ryder truck arrive and suspects exit on the Murrah building security video. Yet the FBI claims a tape malfunctioned between 8:59 and 9:06 a.m. If the tape failed, how did the agent see it? She says, 30 years of research. My grandchildren were murdered that day. Read the full story in Shadows of Conspiracy. Please retweet The Truth Matters. And then she's sharing this Secret Service document. And she looks like this one's a little bit different. They've just shown the specific excerpts. So you see security video shows a riot truck pulling up to the federal building and then pausing 7 to 10 seconds before zooming into a slot in front of the property, in the building. And then the next one, reliable initiation system would be time fuse. Security videotapes from the area show the truck detonation 3 minutes and 6 seconds after the suspects, plural, exit the truck. I believe this one too, maybe she didn't have the full version, but I'm pretty sure the full version shows also a literal timestamp of when a second person steps out too. So either way, though, even without the timestamp of the second person, even just a simple suspects right there is kind of a smoking gun when it comes to John Doe too, because this is directly from the Secret Service who conducted their own investigation on the bombing, and this also kind of directly goes to the surveillance tapes, commonly brought up discussion when it comes to the Oklahoma City bombing. So there's really it says security video shows, and also it's like, how else would you be looking at this without a security video? How would you know this? So it very clearly indicates they had security video, and they had security video that showed the thing happening. So all these claims about we lost it or we don't have it or they're dragging their feet or whatever, no, they've had this for forever. I mean, maybe it's been destroyed, who knows? But either way, they either have it or had it, and we haven't seen it. We never, ever, ever saw it. For what reason? I can speculate, and I think my speculation's pretty fucking strong. I think he was likely some sort of glowy, some sort of Fed. That, or he was an asset. So I guess that falls under some sort of Fed. So even if he was like one of the, ARA, white supremacists, whatever the hell, I think he had to have been, and for some reason, they didn't want to burn him because they were worried they'd screw themselves over. To the extent they were willing to hide all this stuff. So something about even knowing who this person is would clearly fuck up a bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, let's check in the chat, see what you guys have to say. The 9/11 before 9/11 says JMS for sure, exactly. Jose says, okay, he's arguing with Screwed Up Rebellion. I'm not bringing that here. I like Screwed Up Rebellion. You know what? I like a little someone in the chat to be a little bit contentious in the chat. It gives me something to riff off. If everyone agrees with me, it's not so much fun, I guess, But all right, let's get into the next one. Here's from the homie Ken Silva. By the way, on the Kathy Sanders, I do intend on having her on the show sometime soon. I think I sent her an email a while ago, and then I think I never got an email back, but then I talked to my buddy Ken, and I think he said that he got an email back because I CC'd him. So I think she just did the thing where she didn't hit the reply all thing, so I just need to hit her back up. So I'm sure we'll have her on at some point, and look forward to that. Just my schedule's pretty busy right now. I just haven't really gotten around to messaging her again. So I will at some point here soon. But here's Ken. Ken kind of reminded me of that because, like I said, I CC'd him in there. But here's Ken. He's saying, last night the DOJ released texts between Ryan Routh and the Mexican human smuggler about smuggling Afghans into the U.S. These texts show that the smuggler was going to drop the Afghans off at the border and have them apply for asylum. They even discussed the possibility of flying them straight into the country. However, the Mexican wanted $1,800 apiece for the job, which Roth said he couldn't pay. Doesn't look like the deal was completed, but I'm not sure about that. So let's read these texts. So here it goes. Hey, Ramiro, Ryan, Old United Roofing, now in Hawaii. Okay, so I guess he had a roofing company in Hawaii. I vaguely remember him living in Hawaii, having some sort of company. I don't remember if I knew if it was roofing or not, so I don't know if that's newish. I need to get a family from Amkamka, whatever city, Mecca, whatever. Mecca? I don't know. All right, anyway, weird city name. South of Mexico City to Eagle Pass, Texas. Can you take them for me? I will pay you. So he needs to get a family from Mexico to Texas. Can you take them? I will pay you. Okay. Oh, jeez. It's getting small. He goes, find out if they have permission in Mexico. That way it's easier. No, they do not have any paperwork. Illegal. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive because they're illegal. And how do they plan on crossing the U.S.? Said, well, it's my understanding that they will be allowed to cross the Eagle Pass and be given a court date for an asylum case in the years to come and be allowed in the U.S. I will say that's a little bit interesting. It's my understanding they will be allowed to, although I don't know if, because I read that and my schizo mind goes, oh, is someone tell him, or is that just common knowledge at the border at that time? This was 2024, so this was a year and 2 months ago, year, 2 months and some days. So yeah, it's I don't know what to make of that one. I guess that could just be a common knowledge thing about the border, perhaps. In Mexico, there's a program for asylum. A lot of people have been crossing that way. It ends in March. Okay, how do we do that? And he goes, let me ask more about it. Because if they get in the asylum program, they could probably even go in airplane. But let me get more information. And he goes, all right, give me a second. Says, I can take them, but it would be kind of expensive. The reason is when you take immigrants, the police will stop you lots of times. And the only way to fix all that and have no problems is paying them. So I would be charging $1,800 each person. And he goes, that's way too expensive just to take them to the border. It's like a one-day drive. He says, this is a humanitarian mission, dude. I can pay $500 or $1,000, drive them to Eagle Pass. This family needs help. Okay. All right. We don't know more. Obviously, there maybe more will come. Ken wrote a story on it for those who want to go check it out. So go check out that story over at Headline News if you want to dig more into that and see if there's more juicy info in there. All right. On the Are People Related thing thread that we kind of got into yesterday quite a bit. JC mentioned you shared something that we brought up on the show, the JD Vance Aquino connection. And I think on Already Dead, I think we were talking about last night, someone said some sort of possible Netanyahu Milei connection. Now, I think we're dealing with a similar such situation where it's sort of like, oh, minor connective tissue here. With the JD Vance one, literally all I saw was just, yo, he looks like him. Whereas this one's, I guess, kind of like a more, oh, they share similar names. So we'll get into that. I don't think it's. I'll be frank with you. It's not. I don't feel like it's that strong, but who knows? Maybe more will come of it. So here's Gabriel Cruz saying, "I just learned something." By the way, this is from Brandon. Thanks, bud. He says, "I just learned something. Israel PM Benjamin Netanyahu's family name is technically Milikowski, which they changed to Netanyahu, which means if Argentina is Javier Milei and Israel is Benjamin Milikowski." Argentina, Milei, Israel, Milikowski. And he goes, I'll wait. Now, I don't know. I know these, like, Kowski is like typically like an Eastern European name, I think. Like, Owski, like that sort of suffix there. So, I don't, is that maybe Milei is a Jewish, like, I don't know, is you guys tell me in the chat, maybe you will know. I know he's been super duper Jewy, if that makes sense. Like, he's all about, he's super clicked up with Israel, all about that. He always is like, there's all sorts of photos of him, or quotes of him, talking about, Jewish this or that. I think even trying to convert and like, I don't know, like having his own rabbi and stuff. So I don't know if he's actually Jewish it gets complicated because it's like, I know a lot of people go, oh, Jewish is a race. Oh, Jewish is a religion. And it's like, it's kind of really whoever the fuck is talking about in that moment because words are defined by the users and it is quite a bit used to denote a racial factor and also a religious factor. So it's kind of both, and it is like they did kind of sort of interbreed a lot, and I guess you could say kind of incestuous. So they're going to have very similar physical traits, which I mean people do bring up all the time. So in some sense, I guess it's kind of a proto race of sorts. So, anyways, point being is I don't know if Milei is some sort of a root word that, originates from some sort of Jewish something or other, because I guess that could be the case that if, obviously Benjamin Netanyahu came from, I believe he originated from like Poland or something like that. So that like the Kowski, obviously, maybe it's one of those things where, because it's not uncommon for Jews to go to different countries and add things or take away things to their name or change them up to kind of adapt or whatever. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Milei was some sort of Jewish, root word, and then, like, when, Netanyahu's family moved to Israel, they added the Kowski or something to fit more in. I don't know. I'm kind of talking out my ass. I'm just saying it's not the same name already, so I don't know. I feel like we're really, really stretching to make it, because obviously somewhere, at the very least, there's enough of a separation here to have changed the name. So, and I would assume, like, I don't know, I guess they could have done it on their own. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's one of those things I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. When you dig into a lot of these world leaders and their genealogy, a lot of times that shit does get fucking creepy. So I wouldn't be surprised. So let's look at these, see what they have to say here. I mean, here's a picture of Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's a picture of Milei, as if you didn't remember. So here we go. Here's, this guy took a screenshot here. It says, what are the ethnic origins of Benjamin Netanyahu? And what is his real birth name? Netanyahu was ethnic origins are Ashkenazi Jewish. His father, Benzion Netanyahu, was born in Warsaw, Poland. Okay, cool. I was correct. Awesome. And his mother, Zila Segal, was born in Petah Tikva, then part of the Ottoman Empire's Mutasarrifate of Jerusalem. His birth name was Binyamin Netanyahu. However, his family originally had the surname Milikowski. The name change to Netanyahu was made by his father Ben-Zion, who adopted a Hebrew name, as was common among many Zionist immigrants at the time. Thus, Benjamin Netanyahu was not born with the name Netanyahu, was born with the surname Netanyahu, not Milikowski. Okay, so I guess that's an important little actually note. I always assumed, I actually always thought his name was Milikowski, because I couldn't remember Milikowski, but I know he did have another name. People always bring up, no, that's not even his real name, and kind of isn't, sort of. I mean, his dad changed his name at birth to, it sounds like, to Netanyahu. So he didn't take his father's name. His father gave him a different name to fit more in. So, minor difference, I guess. So, I mean, his dad did change the name. Netanyahu didn't change the name, although it is common practice for these Israeli leaders to change their names. All right, now here's early life and military career. Here's a young photo of Netanyahu. Okay, give it to him. He's a studly little young guy. I'll give him that. No homo. I'm not interested in that way. I'm just kind of, okay. Netanyahu was born in 1949 in Tel Aviv. His mother, Savila Segal, was born. Okay, this is the same shit we said. His father was a historian specializing in the Jewish Golden Age of Spain. His paternal grandfather, Nathan Milikowski, was a rabbi and Zionist writer. Okay. When Netanyahu's father immigrated to mandatory Palestine, he Hebraized? Okay, that's a word, I guess. His surname to Hebraize is like what, to make it more Hebrewish? From Milikowski to Netanyahu, meaning God has given. Okay, that's interesting, considering he then becomes essentially his dad changed his name at birth to God has given, and then he becomes the prime minister of Israel. That's probably probably one of the most notable ones. Obviously, it's like maybe there's a normalcy bias in the sense that like it's during my own time. So like obviously like I don't know, but I have a feeling. I mean, maybe it's just that like a century or two from now, that if people are looking back at Israel, whether it's still existing or not at that time, and like thinking about prime ministers, I do think Netanyahu will probably remain infamous or famous, depending on who you ask, among them. If that's my guess. Could be completely wrong. It could just be normalcy bias speaking for me, and that just like he's the one I've seen the most during my life. I'm pretty sure he's been the longest serving prime minister, so I think that backs it up a little bit. But anyways, just kind of weird. While his family is predominantly Ashkenazi, he has said that a DNA test revealed him to have some Sephardic ancestry. He claims descent from the Vilna Gaon. All right, well, there's nothing in here that even really got more at it. So once again, it seems like a clickbaity thing that got around. Although to be fair, this guy has like one, but this wasn't even like the weather. So maybe there's other ones out there that have bigger, that have more viral and more information. So if any of you guys find anything on that, because it was just one of you guys, I think it was already dead. Someone mentioned this offhand, and I was like, okay, well, someone find that, and then Brandon found it for me. So I'm just covering it for you guys now. So if anyone finds more, if there's more valid connection between these two, say in their genealogy, wouldn't be surprised since, like I said, his family roots is Milikowski, so, obviously they have that same root word. Not that crazy, especially given the habits of Jews and changing their names depending on where they go. So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So if any of you guys find more info on that, please let me know. I'm definitely interested. So let's roll through the chat. Yeah, so Lauren says, dude's fake as fuck. So it means, I can't fucking say that. It has given, and they murder people for using the father's name. Okay. It says only Wojcicki knows if he's a Sephardic lineage. I don't know what that means. All right. Small, rootless, international click. Yes, you are correct. Scrolling through. Someone says, weird, they usually come from Canada. I'm assuming speaking about our immigration story a little bit ago. All right, let's go to the next story, guys. What do I got? Here we go. Here's something from the homie, Jolly on Klebold, or Tim Tuttle is what I call him at times. Oh, it's just old alt. That's why I call him that. On the 18th, the Parkland Hospital in Dallas was alerted to be prepared to receive a large number of serious burn victims from Waco the following day. This was no ordinary Delta team, but a special team of special CIA professional killers trained to accomplish a mass murder. And now let's read what he has to say here. Give him a little retweet. I usually try to do that. All right. Let's read this. What is this from? I'm not sure what this is from. So let me see if he says. So let's look at this real quick. Archive, organization. What is this? An archive. Let's go over here so we can know what it is. Operation Mind Control by Walter Boart, Researchers Edition. Okay, so that's where we're pulling this info from, just so you guys know if you guys want to look into this on your own. written in 2014 or added in 2014. So, all right, let's get back over here. So here we go. So this is an excerpt from that book. It says, you have also reported to the nation that having given the ultimate go-ahead for the plan, you and President Clinton are the ones ultimately responsible for what happened in Waco on Monday, April 19th, 93. That, however, is simply not true, Attorney General Reno. What happened in Waco is not your fault, nor is it President Clinton's fault. For the Reagan and Bush holdovers at the Justice Department, the FBI, the BATF, and the CIA, etc., who carefully planned and orchestrated this disaster, never informed you as to what their secret right-wing political agenda was in all of this. Okay, interesting. Therefore, neither you nor Clinton had any idea what had actually been planned for this operation in Waco, much less any hint of the secret agenda which was to be served by this mass murder and cover-up to protect the criminal machinations of the CIA. So here we think Wiltshire, so I guess some individual named Wiltshire is the one providing that little quote there, was wrong again in his assumption that the occupants of the Oval Office and their appointees are not part of the cryptocracy until the National Security Act is repealed and the cryptocracy weeded out or overthrown. So this Wiltshire fella seems to think it's all glowy shit, which I'm open to, but that also, in addition to that, the Clinton and Reno and some of these individuals had no idea. And I'm kind of open to that, but let's be real, the Clintons suck too. So it's I wouldn't be surprised either way. So I'm open to the idea that the Clintons had nothing to do with any of this, because, I don't know, it wouldn't really surprise me at all if the sitting president was not aware of what their fucking glowies are doing, because that's kind of the real power behind the seat. Let's be real. So, and that's not to say Clinton's not an evil man and done awful things and responsible for all sorts of deaths here and there. I just wouldn't be surprised if he just wasn't aware of these ones. So, but really, that's not even that's not really an out for him, because, he still handled this like shit after the fact. So, but anyways, but to continue with Wiltshire's letter, in which his sources have informed him on details of events that, if true, only insiders could have known. On the 18th, the Parkland Hospital in Dallas was alerted to be prepared to receive a large number of serious burn victims from Waco the following day. I'd like to see something, other than just a book, or even even if it just refers to someone who said it, or a document or something, some sort of. I would like something on that. That's pretty wild. Like I said, so if any of you guys out there have heard of this, or Tim, if you in this book are aware of the source specifically. Unless they're saying that, unless it's cut out part of the quote and that's part of Wiltshire's claims. But anyways, so yeah, it says on the 18th, the Parkland Hospital, Dallas, was prepared to receive large number of serious burns from Waco. So specifically from Waco. So like I said, we would like to confirm this because that's pretty well. But on the morning of the 19th, the Delta Force commanders were on alert, ready to carry out the first plan had it been approved. Wiltshire said that this was not just an ordinary Delta team, but a special team of select CIA professional killers trained to accomplish a mass suicide that it could be covered up to look like a Jonestown-style mass suicide. All right. That kind of meshes with my understanding of what how it was probably supposed to go down. So I'm not really surprised. Although, once again, it sounds like after reading that last paragraph that maybe, now the specific one I really want to know is about the burn victims one, but so I don't know if that was part of the Wiltshire claims or if that's a separate source of its own. But either way, I don't know who this Wiltshire fellow is, but it's interesting as shit. And by the way, me and Austin are going to be doing another episode on Waco here soon and digging into some of this weird stuff about it. Because the last episode was more kind of like a standard, trying to do like a anniversary type thing, and then didn't want to bring in a bunch of weird, crazy shit, and it's distracting, likely to be noobs coming in for the ground level 101 type Waco. What's the word I'm looking for? What can I think of it? When you presentation. There we go. But all right, well, appreciate that, buddy. Let's move on to the next one. Another one from Jolly on Klebold. But let's check through the chat real quick to see what you guys have to say. Someone says, I bet the Clintons throw great parties. Yeah, they probably do. Doing some research, and apparently Benjamin Netanyahu's mother gave birth to him when he was nearly 60 years old. Odd. Yeah, that sounds like a bullshit to me. I'm not saying you're lying, but that sounds like Paul Bunyan bullshit. You know what I mean? That sounds like not real. I don't even. I think like when's when do women go through menopause? It's like early 50s, right? Like the idea she's having kids at almost 60 is kind of menopause. How old? Yeah, between 45 and 55 is when they typically. So I guess it's theoretically possible for someone to be almost 50 and having a child, or almost 60 and having a child, because you could be in the up near 55. Maybe you could 6, 7. Maybe you're one of those unique people that wait longer. But yeah, that does sound like some Paul Bunyan bullshit to me. So, all right, let's go to the next one. All right, this is once again the homie. Let's read this. Give me a second. All right, he shared with me, and this is in a kind of an addendum to our little talk where I told JC to go fuck himself yesterday because he sent me this tweet that had nothing in it but like, hey, they look alike. So. Which I guess they do. I'm just jerking your chain, JC. I'm not actually upset with you. If anything, it made for a funny moment. But the buddy Tim Tuttle added a little thing under it, and so he shared a couple little excerpts in relation to Aquino. Goes training under Captain Foster, survival skills at Fort Riley, Kansas, under Lieutenant Dave Bannister, intelligence at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, under Lieutenant Colonel Levick in Fort Defiance, Virginia, who is said to run a military school and who have housed quote-unquote Monarch boys. Colonel Bill Risher of Bamberg, South Carolina, is said to have supplied children for Michael Aquino. Okay, and then also it says in this, so this looks like a kind of like you would see either at the bottom of a book or like maybe in the back, kind of like a little sub notes or footnotes or whatever this looks like to me. So travel to Dresden, and so the other footnote, travel to Dresden in communist East Germany, where weapons were inspected. There and in the Federal Republic of Germany, the Monarch personnel were frequently neo-Nazis. This area, Bonacci said, was a special project of Lieutenant Colonel Aquino, who was a West European advisor to the U.S. Chief of Staff. Bonacci had extensive experience in the Aryan Nation and other white supremacist cults. Now, I think what probably Timmy here was getting at with the putting this little bit of information underneath our little discussion about Michael Aquino from yesterday, I think what he's driving at here is obviously the Monarch component, and the Monarch is like a generational thing. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever explicitly said it is like a breeding program, but it almost feels like it because it's generational. It's always like whenever you hear these stories of supposed Monarch people, it's almost always people with connections of some sort. Usually, they're like their father or their grandfather was like some sort of like kind of like an Ed Kemper type thing where his dad, like he wasn't in, it wasn't a, at least we don't know he was working for the government, but he wasn't in the military like his dad was. But his dad was in the military in World War II, and essentially, operating in the precursor to Operation Phoenix. Was it the Devil's Brigade or something? I forget. But they essentially were a Canadian-U.S. Joint, operation of some sorts that he was in. So the point being is that like the generational nature. You take these people that are in super high up in like military intel or special forces or whatever. And then it's very common that you see these people, or just high up in, or even just like not even intel, just high up in like a high staff or whatever, in whatever given thing. It's not at all that uncommon that you see generation, maybe even two later, that some of these kids then end up being, coming out, or there's implications they have something to do with some sort of Monarch program. So point being, it almost sounds like, especially in light of, as me and Austin have talked about things like Discordianism and how that ties into, I forget the guy's name, the guy who claims to be, brothers with Oswald, and that their dad was some, was it like a general or colonel, some fucking, German high-ranking military person. So it kind of feels like that. So obviously the impression being here, this kind of reminds me, too, of the discussion I had with Top and Raven about Elon Musk the other day, and kind of like how he's creating, has this like essentially compound where he wants all his women and children to go. And so he's almost got his own little breeding program. It's also not at all uncommon to see breeding programs. Epstein, essentially, they might dress them up in other terms, but they're breeding programs. And, this was put under, he shared this under a post that was kind of, I guess you could say semi-jokingly, maybe not, pointing out that, look, insanely speculative, obviously, that look how much J.D. Vance looks like Michael Aquino. And I think that just kind of illustrates the point of like, you have all these, what do these breeding operations out there, what happens? Like as I said yesterday, what happens when Elon's horde of children grows up, and most of which we probably won't even know who they are, and many of them probably will be interacting with the world not saying Elon Musk is their father. So these are just people, you could almost call them a sleeper agent of some sort, although they're not really sleeping. They're just people that have connections that are likely going to probably have certain doors open for them as a result, and likely end up in positions of influence. So it's like, it's just, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be, while it does sound outlandish and ridiculous that J.D. Vance would be the son of Michael Aquino, it's like, possible, sure, why not? I mean, way weirder things have happened in the wide world of parapolitics. So here's more, and actually, I guess this is probably kind of getting into what I'm saying. This is from this is Operation Mind Control. There are multi-generational groups where parents donate their own children, who are proudly called bloodline or simply blood cultists, to be smashed with drugs and electric shock and shaped. Chaitkin wrote, other children are kidnapped and sold into this hell, or are brought in gradually through daycare situations. Paul Benassi and other child victims have given evidence in great depth on the central role of Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino in this depravity, Chaitkin wrote. Aquino, alleged to have recently retired from an active military role, was long the leader of an Army psychological warfare section, which drew on his... Okay, so I was right the other day. I said he says the leader, because I've brought up multiple times his rank as lieutenant colonel and tried to kind of put in terms that like normal people that didn't do any time in the military would understand like what a lieutenant colonel, the rank they fill. And I kind of made the point that he likely was the leader of whatever division, his PsyOps division that he was part of. Just because I just assumed, like, I don't know if it was a squadron or if it's a group or if it's like what level of divisional level it is, but likely just whether it was group or squadron level, it's like I feel like Aquino, a lieutenant colonel, was probably running that operation. And I was correct, it sounds like. So he was the long leader of the Army Psychological Warfare Section, which drew on his expertise in personal practices in brainwashing, Satanism, Nazism, homosexual pedophilia, and murder. A former director of the CIA, one assumes this is William Colby, was asked directly, what about Monarch? He replied angrily and ambiguously, we stopped that between the late 1960s and the early 1970s. If a statement of fact, this would presumably relate to official participation of the CIA, Chaikin said. It says if a statement of fact. That is one of those quotes that I wish was known for sure, because the Monarch is that elusive little bitch is what it is. That thing just hides like a motherfucker. It's like those little floaties in your eyes when you're like, oh, and you go look at it and it moves. That's what Monarch is. It's like, I know you're there, bitch, but I just can't really look at you. Like, every time I try to, you scurry off to the corner or somewhere else. But yeah, so I think that does, I guess, give some sort of credence to this, I guess you could say. So, but worthwhile. Go give it a retweet real quick. Let's check in and see what you guys have to say. All right. You'll know Elon's descendants by their salute. Yeah. Whew, let's go, baby. All right. Yeah, I'm scrolling through. All right. You guys aren't super chatty today. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next thing. Move on. All right. We're getting into the Virginia Giuffre shit. Sorry, guys. Actually, let's start off with New York Post first off. Let's start that way. I had a little bit of post today that caught some flack, and we'll kind of get into that. But I did want to take a moment before we get into that, kind of go into the story of Virginia Giuffre. That happened, I believe, over the weekend. Or was that yesterday? Well, this story is from yesterday, but it's from the morning. So I guess it was 2 days ago, probably. So, but yeah, Virginia Giuffre, probably one of the most well-known of Epstein's victims, recently died. Unfortunately, it says suicide. Obviously, that's a. I'm not saying it's one way or the other. The statement I had said that I kind of got a little flack for is that I'm open to either, which is I don't know, like I feel like a reasonable position for one to hold. Because I get, and if anything, my point was to kind of push back against all the people that are immediately going, Virginia Giuffre didn't kill herself. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm the Terrence Cheeky didn't kill himself guy. That's kind of like the Karen Trent didn't kill himself guy. Like, it's like but like, I don't know, these are stories that like, those guys clearly didn't kill themselves. Like, let's be real. But now like Virginia Giuffre, I don't know. I mean, like at that time, like when people were immediately going, oh, she didn't kill herself. That was based off of nothing but suspicion, because it literally just happened. Like, I'm sure maybe some of the people making that take were aware of this or that, but it was, you can just tell by the way it rolled out, and you just know. There's not that many people who have a detailed knowledge of the in and outs of Virginia Giuffre's story. These are people just reflexively reacting with, oh, she didn't kill herself. And while I do have an anti-government bias, I am against the state. I hate the fucking state. My ultimate goal is truth. Because it's like, I think truth is the best way to get there. If I'm letting my bias, because fuck the state, fuck these glowies and their stupid little, crazy ops like this. If I was just to be like deferring or heavily leaning towards, in the absence of anything that implies it, strongly implies it, that something else was happening, I think that's a intense, once, if it does come out that like, oh yeah, was clearly a suicide, it discredits you. It discredits, in a sense, it kind of discredits all of us. That like you just immediately just jumped on this. And it's so that was my only point in that. I literally just said, I think I made a post that I would not be surprised if she killed herself. And then literally the follow-up was, the tweet was like, just to be clear, like, with that said, like, if this isn't being investigated, if people aren't looking into angles of murder, then they're an idiot. They're retarded. Like this is something that, like, from my understanding of the story and like where she was at in her life, I wouldn't be surprised, just knowing the hell this woman went through. But it's also knowing the circle that she's in and knowing they have been known to off people. I also wouldn't be surprised if she got killed. It really could go either way. I'm kind of about 51-49 on this one, to be honest. But we don't know. So I feel like, as anyone being an honest actor out there, that's really the best you can do. So let's go ahead and read through this article, see how long this is. Okay, let's, the fuck? I'm sorry, it's being weird. Okay, well, maybe not. I don't know if you guys are seeing, please tell me my internet's not about to glitch out. Okay, all right, you guys are seeing that white screen too, and I can still see myself moving. All right. I don't know why the New York Post decided to shit out on me. Awesome. Thanks, dude. All right. Well, we're not doing New York Post, I guess. I don't know why it's being like this. Sorry. Just gave you a white screen. It's just that one tab. It's just the New York Post tab. Okay. Here we go. It's coming back. It's working on it, I think. Come on. All right. What is going on? Now it won't let me interact with it. Oh, cool. Oh, is the whole thing freezing? All right. Awesome. I think I might just exit out. This is sketching me the fuck out that this isn't working. All right. All right. Here we go. Jesus Christ. What the hell? All right. Now I have more ads coming. Great. Awesome. Fuck. All right. It's went away. Now I got to siphon through all these ads. Sorry for the audio listeners and I guess the video listeners too. Virginia Giuffre's loved ones have detailed her heartbreaking final days in the lead up to her death last week. By the way, like I said, this was New York Post from Nika Shakhnazarova. She had been living in, Giuffre, who became the most prominent victim of late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, died by suicide Friday, her family confirmed. She was 41. She had been living in Australia at the time of her death, though her life began to unravel in recent months following her split from husband Robert Giuffre after 22 years of marriage. The pair were embroiled in a bitter custody battle over their 3 children, ages 19, 16, and 15. So they were older, but still young. I mean, still awful time to leave your children. I mean, not that there's ever really a good time to leave your children, but if you're looking at it that way. Giuffre's brother Sky Roberts told People earlier this month that she hadn't been able to gain access to her kids in months due to her estranged husband's restraining order filing, which is awful, obviously. It's the worst pain in the world to not have access to your children, he told the outlet. Can you imagine the pain? I will tell you, all the physical pain will never amount to the pain of being separated from your children in that way. Meanwhile, Sky's wife and Giuffre's sister-in-law, Amanda Roberts, alleged to the outlet that Giuffre's husband had been physically abusive. So this is stuff that kind of points to that. I'd say, look at Jeffrey's brother looks like Virgin Giuffre's brother kind of looks like a fucking, like a cool Dave Rubin, like if he was just some fucking country boy. All right, anyways, that's stupid. But let's move on. Here's the ex-husband that supposedly treats her like shit, or did. Here's a photo of her with her children. Here we go. It says, I think the last incident that they had, she almost died, Amanda said of an alleged January incident, and we had to speak that truth with her on the phone. And I think she had acknowledged if she had had one more instance with him, she wasn't making it out of there, she added. Giuffre made headlines last month when she posted a photo of her bruised face on social media, claiming she had been struck by a bus and had 4 days to live. This had been the worst start to a new year. She wrote in the caption, "I'm ready to go, but just not until I see my babies one last time. But you know what they say about wishes." However, a bus driver claimed shortly after that she had blown it out of proportion. So here's the photo that she posted, I believe, online when that happened. I don't know like the truth of this, so it's really hard to suss this out. I know me and Austin covered on it. I don't know. I think I don't even think there were any reported accidents, if I remember correctly. So it's like, it's just bizarre. I have no idea. Giuffre later claimed she suffered years of physical abuse at the hands of her husband. Roberts added that Giuffre and her husband had been undergoing marital issues for some time before finally splitting in August 2023. That's the end of the story. I mean, they don't even give the details of the suicide, so I haven't seen any details of it anywhere, so I don't know. But let's kind of go through some other commentators out there and other people and see what they have to say. I think some of this will point one way, some point other, but I think we'll give a kind of a fair coverage of it either way. Here's Ryan Dawson. He posted about this. He said, who's someone who's covered this quite a bit. Obviously, Ryan does great work. I think he's kind of insufferable, but he does do good work from my understanding. I'm not really someone who's followed his work closely, but the bits I've seen it here and there usually seem to be pretty solid from my understanding. So I know I've heard lots of rumors going around, something about him being paid or something by the Tates or something. I don't know what degree there's truth to that. It seems, from what I know of Ryan, that seems weird to me. It doesn't seem to match up, but I have no idea. Could be true. Don't know. So just throwing that out there, because I know a lot of people, want to, or implying some sort of, I don't know, negative reasons why maybe he'd be saying things like this. But I don't know. He's followed the case quite closely. He's been pretty solid and kind of irrational from my understanding when he does analysis on this too, where he'll point out like certain figures that maybe aren't all the, this is the thing me and Austin talked about, how maybe some of these people, especially when you're dealing with a trafficking network like this, it's not as, they kind of make the victims victimizers. So it's like you don't know, when you're dealing with a Virginia Giuffre or any of these women or individuals involved with these, it's like, yeah, they can set themselves up as a victim, and yeah, they probably were a victim, but they also could have been a victimizer too, and that's going to affect how they behave here. So I'm just saying Ryan's kind of been, kind of the idea of like not knee-jerk jumping to things. That's been my impression of his work when it comes to this, although I don't have a detailed knowledge of it. So just saying. But this is his take. He says Virginia's prescription painkillers were her killer. She had not been allowed to see her children since February 9th. It was unbearable for her. Not even after a hospital visit due to a car accident revealed her kidneys were failing were they allowed to see her. So, and that was there was that car accident. Now he framed it as they're revealing the kidneys were failing. So, because I remember that was part of the story that, my kidneys are failing and I'm dying. I got in a bus accident. So it's like everyone kind of assumed that meant she got in an accident and that accident resulted in some sort of massive organ damage that now she is dying from and had a limited amount of time. It sounds like the way Ryan's framing this is that they revealed her kidneys were failing. It's a very confusing. I don't know the truth of this bus story. I don't know what the hell happened. I just remember when me and Austin were coming a while back, it was very weird. I'll be honest, I don't think her bus story is the truth. Like, however she framed it, I don't think that's correct. I think something else happened. Now, does that mean she's a bad actor of any sort? No, not necessarily. She may have reasons for stretching the truth, lying, this, that, or whatever. I don't know. It could be true as well. It just is a bizarre story, and it just doesn't seem that there's really much corroborating facts when you would think there would be. So, but I guess they found her kidneys were failing, which I guess if she did have a bad prescription drug problem, that would be the case. I would like to see, actually we just did see a photo of her a second ago. If we're saying her kidneys are failing from prescription drug problem, I would say that it's just judging by that photo of her, she didn't seem emaciated or something. As someone myself who I've had experience with prescription drugs and I had addiction at a period of time, much at a very, very different stage in my life. If you're someone who's abusing prescription drugs to the point of that it's like driving you to death, or and they're calling this a suicide. I mean, if the implication is, prescription drugs, it also could be an OD, so it may not even be a suicide. But It's weird that they immediately go suicide. Maybe there would be a letter. Obviously, maybe more information will come out. There won't be a letter or something, and then we'll be like, oh shit, this could be more. Also, keep in mind, even if it is prescription drugs, it's not all uncommon that it's actually, they call it a hot shot is what they call it in the feds, where it's like the common practice. Well, not common, I guess it's kind of uncommon practice of, you were trying to dispose of an unwanted personage that you would inject them with a lethal dose of some sort of drug, and that way it's like, especially if there's someone who's already a drug user or there are rumors of them being a drug user out there or something, it's something you can use against them. Like, look, they OD'd. So I don't know. I don't really know the truth about this weird bus story, and then in relation to the kidneys, it just, like I said, there was multiple things that didn't seem to corroborate here. So it's just very confusing. But anyways, the point is, again, with the prescription pills is she didn't look emaciated or not, maybe emaciated is the wrong word. Incredibly skinny or like pilled out. Like I know when it was like after high school, like it was like probably my senior year and then like my senior summer and then like my first semester of college where I was group abusing prescription pills like a bunch. Well, my only semester of college, partially because of the prescription pills. But I went from being, I'm like 5'5", but like in high school, I played 3 sports a year, worked out every day, did jujitsu, like multiple times a week. Like I was like very, very active. But so just to give you an idea of like the body type I had. But like during football season, I would be like 170, 175-ish. I would have to cut weight for wrestling and get down to 152. I think I got down to like 130 when I was in college. And, I lost a lot of weight. And I wasn't even like I didn't have the money to abuse pills to that extent. But point being is when you're on prescription pills, you typically aren't hungry. So if she's withering her body away through prescription pills, I would think her body would match that. But I obviously all I have is that beat up photo of her. It looks like she got the shit kicked out of her. And she didn't look particularly emaciated from my recollection of that picture. So I will say that doesn't match up from my understanding. So... But, I'm just saying, obviously, you got to keep all ends of this because it could be a suicide. It could be a murder. We don't know. Until there's something that really heavily points one way or another. Here's more from Ryan to kind of clear up that. He says her kidney failure wasn't from the car crash. Going to the hospital because of the car crash serendipitously alerted doctors to her kidney condition that was already terrible. They told her she had about 4 days to live if she didn't get treatment. All right, now this makes more sense now. So... because that's why I said maybe she stretched it or maybe because it's like, or maybe being a little overly dramatic. I don't know. So it sounds like, because as I said, I don't believe there actually was a reported car crash. And that was the thing that made it kind of weird. And if you're making it out, like the implication of the original bus story was that like, oh, it made people think at the very least, maybe she didn't mean this, that like she got hit with a bus and now she's dying as a result. When it looks like there probably was some sort of bus accident. Maybe it was this idea of like, like it's a bus accident of some sort, and maybe it was I forgot my fucking point. What was I gonna say? The idea being that like, we've all been in accidents before where you just don't even report it. Like, you don't contact a cop or whatever. I don't know. It depends state to state. I think the rules when it comes to accidents on this road. But there's been plenty of times where I get an accident and cops don't even get involved at all. We just exchange insurance information, move on, whatever. So maybe it was one of those type of situations. She just did that. She went to the doctor because she just felt like something's bad. Let's be real. I'm not saying she was scamming insurance or something. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But I know that's like common thing after accidents, even if they're not that bad. Hey, go get yourself checked out because, hey, you can get your insurance covered. You're not even scamming it. It's just the idea of like, why wouldn't you? If your insurance will cover you getting in some sort of injury, take advantage of your thing you pay for. So it sounds like what's going on here. Say they told her she had about 4 days to live if she didn't get treatment. So, okay. She wanted to see her kids. No one came. Which, I don't know if you can put that on kids. I think, what did I say their ages were? Like 19 was the oldest, I think. 15 was the youngest. I want to say the other one was like 16. So 2 of those were kids. So I would think at least one of them would be their own person and be able to. I guess teenagers, it's like if their dad doesn't let go and they're living with dad, it's like they can't. So I don't know. But... sad still. Her kidneys were most likely dying from pills and the sexual abuse. I don't know if sexual abuse would apply there. Plus looming divorce, plus being separated from her kids, plus tabloids attacking her was killing her. Oh, okay. I misread the what he was saying there. He was just saying those confluence of things is what was killing her. She self-medicated. She died last night, April 25th, in near Gabby is what she said. She said, no, people are making a picture of a post she made 6 years ago saying she'd never kill herself. That was before losing a husband of 22 years and 3 kids. She said 2 weeks ago that she was ready to go, just wanted to see her babies one last time. She posted the song Somebody That I Used to Know. Then she posted a black screen with a broken heart emoji. And it says, stop saying Virginia was killed. You're scaring the shit out of the other victims. I've been calming down panicked women all day. This isn't some joke. Think before you write stuff. These are real people. Virginia has a family. I really hate conspiracy kooks. You do not know the full extent of the story. Trust me, you don't. And you don't have to, but you do know that you don't know, so stop flippantly guessing just because it's good for the memes. It says, I swear our social society is pure rot. People will do anything for clicks. Stop monetizing other people's suffering. Virginia was absolutely heartbroken, devastatingly hallowed. She is a huge reason why Epstein and Maxwell and Brunel all landed behind bars and why Prince Andrew lost $16 million. She did great damage to the pedophile network, but they also did great damage to her. Don't lie about her life or her death. She had kidney problems, and that's not related to the bus accident. It's just something they discovered because of the accident. She wasn't doing well, that's all I will say. It was not a surprise to me at all that she took her own life. She had a 5-year nightmare with serial rapists. Honor what she did, she took them down. It damaged her, other things did too, but this was a broken and rebuilt person. She jailed 3 of them and sued others. She brought closure to hundreds of women. She took on a team of lawyers with nothing in one. Never forget her courage and sacrifice. Rest in peace. And I gotta say, well said by Ryan. Obviously, I don't know if I'd frame it quite as strong as he would, especially since maybe some people would consider me one of the conspiracy kooks. But I get what he means. I still do try to, obviously, like, not everything I say out there can be vetted to the same degree or another. Obviously, depending on, I trust you guys as an audience. You guys understand when I talk about something, or try to have, or you've been around long enough to have a general idea of, the level of intelligence of which I'm speaking on a thing. And usually you can kind of just tell if you're a smart person when someone's talking about something. So like when I talk about Oklahoma City bombing, I would hope that you guys can recognize just by the things I say that I actually know some shit. I by no means say I'm an expert, but then on some of these other stuff, I'm talking about, I don't know, the pedophile Odyssey network. I don't know a ton about that. I've read a book where it came up once. I can mention it in passing and have some cursory information. That's about it. So I do think it's an unreal expectation for everyone to have crazy amounts of information to speak on some things, but at the very least, if it's something that you don't know, and there's nothing that has really strongly implied one way or the other, that why would you come out and go, Virginia Giuffre killed herself, basically. And I actually agree with Ryan here. So, I mean, like I said before, Ryan's not even someone I'm particularly, I don't want to say we're enemies or anything, but I don't particularly care for him. I like his work. I think he's done good work from what I've seen, but he's kind of insufferable. So it's like, don't get me wrong. If he was being a douche here, I would call it out so fucking quick. I have no problem with that. So, but this is seemed pretty legit to me. But let's get into maybe do a little other reasons why perhaps maybe there's something to it. Here's a Kalani Pin Gosh Parapower Mapping. He said, reminder, Virginia Giuffre met her husband, an Aussie martial arts trainer, while on an Epstein-funded trip to Thailand, where she was to study massage and retrieve a Thai sex slave for Jeffrey. She also publicly alleged in her final days that her husband has repeatedly beaten her. Here's a picture of her husband, kind of a goofy-looking dude. In an exclusive statement to People, Virginia said, I was able to fight back against Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, who abused and trafficked me, but I was unable to escape the domestic violence in my marriage until recently. After my husband's latest physical assault, I can no longer stay silent. Speaking exclusively to People, Virginia's brother, Sky Roberts, and all right, whatever, that's enough on that one. She said she convinced, getting away. Miss Giuffre told the Miami Herald that by 2003, Epstein had lost interest in her because she was too old for him. She said she convinced a wealthy financier to pay for her to get training to become a real professional masseuse, and he arranged for her to take a class in Thailand. But she was also expected to bring home a Thai girl that Epstein had arranged to come to the U.S. And so, yeah, that's all of that one. So she literally went to Thailand to bring back a Thai girl for Epstein to take training, and that's where she met her husband at. So, I mean, it could just be that she met it. And then here's the tweet that's been going around that everyone posted. As soon as I made my tweet, I must have had 3 fucking people going, oh, but what about this? And it's he said, Virginia Giuffre, he says, I'm making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist and GP. I don't know what GP is. If something happens to me, in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. Which, yeah, that's if she had posted this like a few days ago or something, holy shit, that's something to it. This was like 6 years ago or something. So it's been a minute. A lot has changed since then, as Ryan pointed out then. So I'm sorry, a 6-year-old statement on that you wouldn't do it. I don't. I mean, yes, I guess it's something. That is something, but it is by no means that much. I mean, I'm just being honest. It just isn't. So, all right, here's more. Here's once again we're kind of leaning into maybe implications that possibly there could be something here. This is from Coexist. He says, just smaller kind of guess. Ginny Giuffre is just the latest Epstein survivor to die. Carolyn Andriano, whose testimony put Ghislaine Maxwell in prison, died of a quote-unquote drug overdose in 2023. So she wouldn't be the first victim to die under suspicious circumstances for sure. So there is definitely, once again, I do want to reiterate over and over and over again, definitely should be looking into it. Wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised either way. Here's another one. That says, I'd forgotten that first wife Alan Dershowitz, mercilessly abused into mental breakdown, whose autopsy report / death records he somehow sealed, also had a sister who married Dersh's brother and was killed by a truck 2 years into Giuffre's litigation that cracked open Epstein's plea. Which that truck thing was weird, because I actually think that did come up when me and Austin were digging into before she died, when we were looking into the bus story or whatever. There was, I want to say it came up that we found out that somebody else's... there was a sister who died, or a connection who died from like a vehicle as well. So it's like oh shit, kind of looks like happened again. Although, I mean, unless more information comes out that proves Ryan wrong or something, because I mean, once again, I don't even know any primary sources that go to this. So I mean, maybe if I dug down that rabbit hole more, I could find them. Maybe But let's go ahead and read these excerpts. This Mo Takasik shared. She's an investigative editor at The Prospect. So this is an excerpt. It says, years later, Barlock committed suicide, but it's unclear exactly how. Dershowitz insists that rumors perpetuated over the internet erroneously say that she jumped off a Brooklyn bridge on New Year's Eve, 1983. He maintains that she drowned in the East River in an apparent suicide. Autopsy reports are not public in New York, and the New York Medical Examiner has declined requests to release Barlock's. I find it telling that there is virtually nothing to be found in Barlock, not even a grave marker. There is a Legacy.com entry, grave marker, and obituary for Barlock's sister, Marilyn, who married Dershowitz's brother, Nathan. Marilyn Barlock was killed in 2011 after being struck by a postal truck while bicycling in Manhattan with her husband. Okay, then here's more. So that's on the, I guess his relatives. So this is more about like Dershowitz connections and kind of weird people dying around him. But it does still go into, it just kind of, gets at the idea of all the people that drop around this. And, obviously, I don't think we'll get to it today. I mentioned in the thing, but there is from a researcher that I've gotten a lot of value out of. He's finally got into actually creating some sort of like content other than just like Twitter threads. He's got a Substack now, and he made an article. And so I was going to go into that Dutroux thing. The point being, the Dutroux fair, there were like so many people, like upwards of 20 that were just dropping dead. So, and once again, we have a similar situation here. So it's just as possible Giuffre died, or maybe not just as possible, but it's possible that she died from a murder, because it's obviously this is a pattern that's surrounding this case that people are just dropping. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and read this. If the media had checked, they would have learned that he indeed was a passenger in the plane during that time period, according to the logs. I'm believing it's referring to Dershowitz. Then he testified in his sworn deposition that he never went on any plane trips without his wife, but he was listed on those passenger manifests as traveling multiple times without his wife. During at least one trip, he was on the plane with a model named Tatiana. It might not prove that he had had sex with anyone other than his wife, but it certainly raises questions about his recall. So there were multiple listings on the thing that he was without his wife, but he claims otherwise in a sworn deposition. So I would assume if it ever got down the weeds, you could be like, well, maybe they just didn't do it correct. I'm like, how could you prove just because it's not on the flight logs that he's lying, I guess? Unless you have, I guess, maybe an additional witness that says otherwise or something. I don't know. Dershowitz was so aggressive in his attacks against Giuffre and Ransom that at least 3 women reached out to me with new information because they couldn't stomach his behavior on television. From one of them, I received unsolicited material, including copies of court papers involving Dershowitz's contentious 1976 divorce from his first wife, Sue Barlock, whom he had been married to for 14 years. In the court findings of fact, the judge concluded that Dershowitz subjected Barlock to so much abuse that she required mental treatment. Barlock, in a report she submitted to the court, said she was so abused by Dershowitz that she had an abortion and rather give birth to their third child. While she was initially given custody of their 2 children, a subsequent battle over child support and alimony led to Dershowitz's being awarded full custody based in part on phone calls with his distraught wife that he had secretly recorded. The recording submitted to the court showed that she was unraveling. And that's basically the end of that one. So, I mean, then we have Alan Dershowitz in there that essentially he had, his, I guess he had a sister who married Dersh's. Okay, no, how does this work? His first wife died. Okay, and I'm trying to break this down. It's a weird, confused. Okay, I get it. It's a situation. I guess if they had kids, they would have had double cousins. It's actually unique. It sounds like Alan and his brother married siblings. That's okay. It's like there's so many different relations. It was hard to fucking really process that. Okay. Which weirdly enough, I don't know really any. That's super rare. I don't really hear people doing that often. Although that is actually my family. My mom and her sister married brothers, which were my dad and my uncle. So I actually have 4 double cousins that are all boys, and double cousins meaning cousins on both sides. Which is weird, especially since my dad and my uncle are the only 2 sons, or the only 2 kids. There was no other kids. So the idea is, there were. Sorry, I see someone at the door real quick. Actually, I might have to walk away for a second. Oh, what did I just do? Actually, give me 1 second, guys. I will be right back. Someone's at the door. Let me go see what they need. All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Oh, geez. Surprisingly, a lot of you guys stuck with me. I thought I might lose some of you. I'll try to throw that in the timestamps for the people who watch later so you guys know to, like, hey, that's a blank space. Don't watch that. I'm not going to edit that out. That's I don't have time. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. Oh, sorry. I was running. It was actually my water guy. Ed's doing some maintenance, so I had to talk to him. I had to pay him. All that stuff. My bad. All right, I think I just covered it all too, so it was kind of perfect timing. Oh, let's roll through the chat. Give me a second to fucking get my breath back. Lance says, well, wasn't his barber at the door? Yeah, no, it's not going to be my barber. This shit's growing, baby. It's growing out. It's going long, all right? Whew. All right, sorry, I was running. All right, so scrolling through, see what all you guys had to see. Any thoughts? Mossad knocking, no. Scrolling through. Why does Jose want Israel all the water? The water is all mine. Because if I just mix my labor with all of the water in the world, therefore it becomes my property, and you guys can't have it. And now I'll have created a monopoly, and you'll have to pay me. All right, scrolling through, man. You guys are really about this water stuff. Someone says Rhinesburg so easily. Yes, he does. So I've been calming women all day. Such a gay thing to say. Yeah, totally. So she says, I jumped in the deep end of the pool. I started with Ryan Dawson. Everyone else seemed so tame and mild after him. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, so I have my issues with him, but it does nothing to do with his research. So, it's more about his social awareness. So someone says painkillers mess up your liver way quicker too, if I remember correctly. That checks out. That would make sense. It's screw your liver. Although she said kidneys, so I don't know. I don't know enough about kidneys. It's a photo still looks totally fake. I don't know. Maybe it is. Scrolling through, she had no idea something was wrong with her kidneys until she had 3 days to live. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like this is a very bizarre story. I don't know what to make about the story. He even preceded her death. So. Someone says, Jose, you always remind me of Ryan Dawson. Okay, I don't know if that's a good thing. I guess I either appreciate it or resent that comment. I'm not sure which. Scrolling through. All right, I think that was all of them. Man, there's a lot of comments I had to go through. Yeah, he's a fantastic researcher, and he's rarely wrong, but he does spurg a lot. Exactly, yeah. And someone says he's such a cringe fest, I can't watch it. Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of where I am. I can't really watch his content or anything, but it is like, when I do hear information from him, I'm like, great. And he is, he just, we're not here to talk shit about him, but... All right, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hoping that I'd get to get too long, and I kind of was procrastinating and went to the end, and then hopefully I'd be like, not even gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it. Unfortunately, I kind of feel like I kind of got to respond to some of this stuff. There's been some, I put this hullabaloo or commotion, I guess you could say, online recently. In relation to Tanya, and then I guess also kind of some people that are usually considered to be within my circle. So, while this does me no pleasure, I'm going to kind of break down that situation and give my take, because I feel like there kind of have been sort of implications sort of leveled at me, although it's been very vague. And I can kind of just tell where this is going / what I just feel like. Maybe I'm wrong, but at the very least, I'm going to respond to this, try to be as polite and respectful as possible. And this is partially why I didn't really do all this on Twitter. Now, a lot of this, I'll explain as I go. It's a little bit confusing because there's a lot to it, and some of this isn't behind DMs. Now, when it comes to DMs, I am very much of the opinion that if you talk to people in a private message. I mean, I guess it depends. There's certain things that, if I'm talking to a booker of a show and they are talking to me and it's about booking, unless they say, hey, don't announce this or whatever or this or that, but if they act any sort of weird way or, I don't know, if it's more of a business thing, I guess, there's I don't feel like there's this assumption of, I don't know, privacy, because you would just normally have between friends, if we have a private conversation or something. I just feel like DMs are typically private thing. They're not really something people you really want to just say. I mean, really, you kind of got to apply some sort of understanding and depending on the context and blah, 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 like what's going on, whether it's appropriate to do so or not. But essentially my general rule of thumb is I don't put out group chats. I try not to or not group chats. I don't put out like DMs or whatever, especially not in like a copy pasting. Now I will be referencing the context of some DMs. So because and I wouldn't even have done that, but you will see later that, in this, tangled web that they were invoked. So the idea, like, okay, well, if you're going to mention them, then I will mention them as well so that I can give my side of the story because now it's part of the story. So that's going to come up in this. Now, I will go ahead and say, if you don't care about, the very, very minutia of, or really, I would actually say just most of you guys should just leave. Like, there's no real reason for you to be here. And this is just, I guess, for those out there who have seen this back and forth or whatever the hell this is and have questions and want my responses and or have thoughts about implications being made about me or whatever. I just feel like there's some things that I should respond to since it's kind of, I think, to some extent making an attempt at my credibility, which, I mean, while I'm not someone who's super wrapped up in having my credibility or something, but it's because I mean, hell, I do I do Tower Gang, I do I don't know, I have fun. I have fun up in this motherfucker. It's not I don't know. It's not I mean, while I do try to be credible, it's not like I'm not a prude about it, if that makes sense. I don't know. So it's it's not something that's I'm super worried about. So anyways, I just feel like to some extent there's my credibility is coming into question. So, and about certain things, to which sure, if it was something that I feel I'm not credible or whatever, sure, I'll admit it. Or especially if it's some level of intentionality or something, but we'll get into this. So I'll kind of try to keep this chronological so it's not confusing because it kind of is. And I've been kind of confused throughout all this, unfortunately. So, but yeah, so let's get where this kind of starts. I guess this isn't actually exactly where I would say the story starts. Now I did, and I'll be honest, I didn't even bother to go look back through the video, the watch the podcast where I addressed this because I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what I mean and when I'm saying things and what I'm trying to, what concepts I'm trying to put in, what I'm trying to put out there. I may stumble over my words or choose the wrong words at a time, but I know what I'm trying to put out there. So I don't really feel like I even needed to go listen to it again because the only things that I'd be listening back to it for to see minor things about how did I characterize this? Did I use the wrong word here? And at that point, I'm just not trying to get that sucked up into semantics. So, but anyways, I don't know when this was, probably before the 19th. This was shortly, probably before. It was when I was preparing for getting ready to go on Jake Shields. And what I've been, especially with this morning show, something I've been doing a lot with you guys is using this as a vector for study and, or kind of sprucing up, kind of jogging my memory or whatever. So we did a live reading on this, which, I'm thinking about to do another Dutro one here in a bit. And usually how I do that when I do on these shows is maybe the last 20, 30 minutes, I'll read a little bit and then, do it the next part the next day and so on and so forth. And if you guys don't like it, you can leave. I get it. Not everyone wants to listen to someone, read for 30 minutes. But it works as a great way. It keeps me honest. It forces me to actually review the information to that way I have good recall when the time comes. And so that's what I was doing. I took, me and I want to say Austin was with me on this episode, but I'm not sure. I don't think it really matters either way. But essentially, we read Hoffman's piece. So I get a live reading, and obviously I give commentary as we go through, different thoughts and the stuff. And at one point, the story about the supposed claims about the medical episode that Terry had, that I've always just kind of found a little odd. I don't really know who to believe, what's going on, this, that. It's kind of almost an aside that I usually just don't even bring up. So it was just something I was talking over with you guys. I mean, it's not really something I really would ever really bring to a big stage because it's just I haven't even, it's information that I haven't even processed. It's weird. That side of things, whatever that medical episode was. I know I think he had sickle cell anemia. And I guess that does supposedly lead to epileptic fits of sorts. So